In 1970, during the height of the Cold War's technological rivalry, Soviet researchers Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Shcherbakov from the Soviet Academy of Sciences published a provocative hypothesis in Sputnik magazine. Challenging humanity's understanding of the Moon, they posited that Earth's natural satellite might not be a product of cosmic chance, but rather an artificial construct engineered by an intelligence far surpassing human capability. According to their theory, the Moon was once a solid celestial body that had been hollowed out using advanced machinery, its molten core expelled to leave behind a cavernous interior. The remaining debris, they argued, formed a reinforced outer shell composed of metallic alloys and mineral composites, a kind of cosmic armor designed to withstand collisions with asteroids and space debris. Even more audaciously, they suggested this engineered structure was deliberately placed into a stable orbit around Earth through means beyond contemporary scientific understanding. Initially dismissed by Western scientists as pseudoscientific fantasy and even criticized within Soviet academic circles as speculative fiction, the theory lingered on the fringes of credible discourse for decades. However, as lunar exploration advanced, unexpected discoveries began to align eerily with Vasin and Shcherbakov's claims. Data from missions like NASA's Clementine and Lunar Prospector revealed gravitational anomalies suggesting the Moon's mass is unevenly distributed, with denser concentrations near its surface rather than deeper within its core, a pattern inconsistent with natural planetary formation. These findings implied the existence of a rigid, shell-like structure enveloping a hollow or partially empty interior, a configuration that defies conventional geological models. Seismic experiments conducted during the Apollo missions further fueled curiosity. When astronauts intentionally crashed modules into the Moon, the resulting vibrations reverberated for unusually long durations, akin to the resonance of a Bella phenomenon, more consistent with a hollow structure than a solid, rocky body. The Clementine mission, a joint effort by NASA and the U.S. Department of Defense in the 1990s, ostensibly aimed to map lunar ice deposits but reportedly harbored clandestine objectives. High-resolution imaging and spectral analysis detected traces of refined metallic elements, including titanium and chromium, embedded in the lunar crust materials that naturally occur in asteroids but are rarely found in such concentrated, alloy-like formations on planetary surfaces. These discoveries raised questions about whether the Moon's crust had been artificially fortified, as Vasin and Shcherbakov had theorized. Critics argue that such anomalies could stem from unique volcanic processes or meteorite bombardment. Yet the precise alignment of these findings with the Soviet hypothesis remains unsettling. While no official space agency has endorsed the artificial moon theory, the accumulation of unexplained data from its anomalous density to its metallic-rich crust has prompted renewed interest in the once-mocked idea. Whether the Moon is a relic of ancient extraterrestrial engineering or merely a cosmic oddity, the unanswered questions surrounding its origin and structure continue to challenge our understanding of the universe. The discovery of unnatural radioactive isotopes on the Moon has ignited debates about its history and origins, challenging assumptions of it being a purely geological entity. Among the most perplexing findings are traces of uranium-236 and neptunium-237 radioactive materials that, on Earth, are exclusively synthetic byproducts of human nuclear activity. Uranium-236, a fissile isotope, does not form naturally. It is created during the neutron irradiation of uranium-235 in nuclear reactors or during uranium enrichment processes in industrial facilities. Similarly, neptunium-237, a transuranic element with no stable isotopes, is synthesized artificially through the neutron, bombardment of plutonium-239 or uranium-238 in controlled reactor environments. These materials are not merely rare in nature, they are categorically absent from natural planetary formation processes. Their detection in lunar regolith, first reported in data from missions like Lunar Prospector and Clementine in the 1990s, has raised profound questions. How could elements requiring advanced nuclear engineering technology only developed by humans in the mid-20th century exist on a celestial body believed to have formed over 4.5 billion years ago? Proponents of unconventional lunar theories argue that their presence points to deliberate artificial activity, potentially by an advanced non-human civilization. Critics initially dismissed the findings as contamination from Earth-based spacecraft or instruments, but subsequent analyses ruled this out. Lunar samples returned by Apollo missions showed no traces of these isotopes, yet orbital spectrometers detected localized concentrations in regions unvisited by human probes, such as the Moon's polar basins and far-side craters. This distribution suggests the materials were either embedded during ancient lunar modification or introduced later through targeted means. Further complicating the mystery is the isotope's decay timeline. Uranium-236 has a half-life of 23 million years and Neptunium-237 decays over 2 million years. Given the Moon's age, any naturally occurring deposits of these isotopes would have vanished eons ago unless replenished by recent artificial processes. This temporal incongruity implies that the detected materials may have been placed relatively recently in geological terms. Some researchers speculate that these isotopes could be remnants of advanced propulsion systems, such as nuclear reactors used by extraterrestrial craft, or evidence of deliberate lunar engineering to fortify or modify its structure. The Clementine mission spectral data also hinted at refined metallic alloys, including titanium and chromium in the Moon's crust materials often used in human aerospace engineering for their durability and heat resistance. When combined with the anomalous isotopes, these findings have led to fringe hypotheses that the Moon's surface was intentionally reinforced with artificial armor, as proposed in the Soviet artificial moon theory. While mainstream scientists cautiously attribute the anomalies to poorly understood geological processes, such as exotic volcanic activity or meteorite-induced transmutation, none of these explanations fully account for the specificity of the isotopes or their unnatural distribution. The U.S. Department of Defense's involvement in lunar mapping missions, coupled with classified data redactions, has further fueled speculation of a deliberate cover-up. Whether these elements are relics of ancient extraterrestrial technology, markers of clandestine human activity, or simply cosmic oddities, their existence underscores the lingering enigma of the lunar world that continues to defy expectations and invite radical reinterpretation. The notion of artificial structures on the Moon, long relegated to conspiracy theories, gained unexpected credibility in the 1990s through revelations about NASA's Clementine mission, a joint lunar mapping project between the space agency and the U.S. Department of Defense. While publicly framed as a scientific endeavor to locate water ice in permanently shadowed craters, classified documents and insider testimonies later revealed a covert agenda to investigate anomalous features on the lunar surface that hinted at non-human activity. Dr. John Brandenburg, a plasma physicist and deputy manager of the Clementine mission, became one of the most vocal whistleblowers, disclosing that high-resolution imaging systems aboard the spacecraft had captured startling evidence of unnatural formations. Among these were linear structures stretching for miles across the lunar terrain, their geometric precision and alignment defying explanations of natural erosion or meteorite impacts. Brandenburg described one such formation near the Moon's southern pole as resembling a vast, deliberate construction, with angular edges and symmetrical patterns inconsistent with volcanic or tectonic processes. These findings, he argued, pointed to the presence of intelligent design, a conclusion bolstered by spectral analysis that detected refined metallic alloys, including titanium and chromium, embedded in the Moon's crust. However, the most provocative images were never released to the public. Former software engineers involved in processing Clementine's data reported encountering censored regions in lunar maps where sections of raw imagery had been pixelated, blurred, or entirely erased by unknown handlers. One technician described anomalies resembling towering, freestanding spires and massive domes near the lunar equator, their shadows suggesting heights exceeding 1,000 feet, structures far larger than any human-made architecture on Earth. Similar discrepancies emerged in Apollo mission archives. Ken Johnston, a former NASA image custodian, revealed that original photographs taken by astronauts had been altered to obscure unusual bright spots and geometric patterns near landing sites. For instance, Apollo 16's panoramic shots of the Descartes Highlands initially showed clusters of angular, reflective objects along the horizon, but these were airbrushed out of publicly disseminated copies. The systematic suppression of such data aligns with claims by Carl Wolf, a U.S. Air Force intelligence analyst, who testified that NASA and the NSA had jointly redacted lunar imagery to conceal evidence of non-terrestrial infrastructure. These allegations gained traction when declassified Soviet-era reports surfaced, detailing their own lunar probes' detection of unexplained megalithic ruins in the 1970s. Skeptics argue that pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive patterns in randomness, explains these anomalies, citing examples of lunar domes being misidentified as artificial. Yet the consistency of witness testimonies, combined with the technical sophistication required to alter orbital imagery, complicates dismissals. The Clementine mission's ties to the Pentagon's Ballistic Missile Defense Organization further fuel speculation that its true purpose was not merely scientific but strategic, a reconnaissance effort to assess whether the Moon harbored active or dormant extraterrestrial technology. Brandenburg, reflecting on his experiences, stated plainly, "We were looking for evidence of someone else being there, and we found it." While NASA maintains that no credible evidence of alien structures exists, the cumulative weight of censored data, insider accounts, and unexplained lunar features invites a haunting question. If the Moon's barren facade conceals nothing extraordinary, why has so much effort been expended to erase its secrets from public view? The answer, like the structures themselves, remains shrouded in shadow. On July 20, 1969, as the world watched with bated breath, Apollo 11's lunar module Eagle descended toward the Moon's Sea of Tranquility, carrying Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, and what was meant to be humanity's greatest triumph reportedly slipped into the realm of the inexplicable. According to whispered accounts and purportedly leaked mission transcripts, shortly after touchdown, the two astronauts observed unidentified spacecraft maneuvering ominously close to their module, massive, shadowy objects that defied any known technology of the era. Ground controllers in Houston were said to have gone silent for 34 tense seconds as radio communications abruptly cut out without explanation, only to resume with hurried clarifications and oblique references to the unexpected visitors. Although Mission Control publicly attributed the blackout to routine system checks, insiders such as former NASA technician Carl Wolf have since claimed that those 34 seconds cloaked a far more extraordinary encounter. Further fueling the controversy, veteran flight controller Ken Johnston has asserted that key original Apollo 11 footage and thousands of photographs images that might have revealed the true extent of what Armstrong and Aldrin witnessed were either officially classified, deliberately erased, or inexplicably went missing in the years following the mission. Johnston insists that he personally cataloged strips of film that later vanished from the archives, while Wolf maintains that entire reels were quietly shipped to classified storage facilities, accessible only to a handful of select personnel. Skeptics argue that technical glitches, bureaucratic disorganization, or clerical errors more plausibly explain the archival gaps, but for those who credit the insiders' testimonies, the absence of the original visual record only deepens the enigma. To this day, declassified NASA transmissions and publicly released photographs show no clear evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. Yet Armstrong's and Aldrin's own fleeting references captured in obscured, redacted transcripts continue to tantalize UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike. Whether the missing footage concealed otherworldly visitors or simply succumbed to obsolescence and mismanagement, the Apollo 11 encounter episode remains one of the most enduring mysteries of space exploration, a moment when mankind's first tentative steps on another world may have been watched by silent observers from beyond our own blue planet. John Lear, a former CIA pilot with decades of experience in aviation and aerial reconnaissance, has made some of the most startling assertions in the annals of UFO lore. He claims that as many as 250 million extraterrestrial beings currently inhabit vast subterranean complexes beneath the lunar surface. According to Lear, these hidden metropolises and research laboratories are home to a bewildering array of species ranging from highly intelligent reptilians, their scaled forms gliding through shadowy corridors, to more familiar humanoid entities, whose advanced physiologies nevertheless betray an otherworldly origin. He paints a picture of cavernous domes and interlinked tunnels, all meticulously engineered to support and conceal a thriving extraterrestrial civilization that spans multiple races and functions, from scientific experimentation to strategic coordination. To keep these installations imperceptible to Earth's prying eyes, Lear suggests that the occupants deploy sophisticated cloaking systems that go far beyond simple optical camouflage. Through the manipulation of holographic projections or the generation of dynamic energy fields, they create continuously shifting visual illusions that fool even the most powerful telescopes and orbital satellites. These techno-illusions can render entire city block-sized structures indistinguishable from the rest of the lunar terrain, or bend light so thoroughly that observers perceive only an empty stretch of regolith where mile-long domes and towers actually rise. Lear's narrative extends to tales of clandestine government knowledge, arguing that top-secret aerospace agencies have long been aware of these off-world installations, yet keep the information under wraps in the name of national security and to avoid global panic. While mainstream scientists and astronomers dismiss such claims as the products of wishful thinking or misinterpreted data, pointing out that no seismic or gravitational evidence supports the existence of massive underground cavities on the moon, Lear insists that the extraterrestrials' mastery of energy-based concealment leaves no traceable signature. He even alleges that on rare occasions these cloaking fields falter, producing brief glimpses of geometric shapes or anomalous thermal readings, though such anomalies are swiftly covered up by officials. For believers, Lear's detailed descriptions offer a tantalizing glimpse of a secret lunar underworld teeming with alien life. For skeptics, they remain unsubstantiated and often fantastical assertions that strain credulity in the absence of hard physical proof. Yet, whether dismissed or devoured, the notion that our nearest celestial neighbor might harbor an invisible empire of extraterrestrials continues to captivate the imagination, inviting us to ponder what might lie hidden just beyond the reach of our most powerful lenses. The moon has long captivated our collective imagination as more than just a barren, airless rock orbiting Earth. Some researchers now posit that it functions as a vast, concealed command center for UFO activity, a sentinel station from which non-human intelligences observe and occasionally intervene in human affairs. According to this theory, sophisticated facilities nestled beneath the lunar surface enable extraterrestrial overseers to monitor Earth's electromagnetic emissions, weather patterns, and even covert military movements, providing them with comprehensive data on global developments. Proponents point to the extraordinary precision of certain historical UFO sightings, instances in which multiple observers reported coordinated formations moving with seemingly impossible synchronization as evidence of a centralized control mechanism rather than isolated craft, with the moon serving as the logistical hub. In this view, famed incidents such as the 1947 Roswell crash, the 1967 Malmstrom Air Force Base missile shutdowns, and the spate of abduction narratives that surged in the 1970s are not disparate events, but components of a unified program orchestrated from our celestial neighbor. Abductees frequently describe being subjected to detailed physiological examinations, psychological testing, and cryptic briefings regarding Earth's environmental trajectory, suggesting a long-term surveillance agenda rather than random exploratory visits. Some theorists argue that these interactions have been recorded and analyzed in subterranean lunar archives, where alien scientists compile comprehensive dossiers on human biology, culture, and technological advancement. Skeptics counter that the lack of direct photographic or seismic evidence for vast underground complexes on the moon undermines the claim, but advocates respond that advanced cloaking technologies and energy dampening fields could effectively mask any detectable signatures of habitation. They further contend that the uncanny correlation between spikes in abduction reports and peaks in solar activity indicates a deliberate synchronization of Earth-Moon monitoring cycles, orchestrated to take advantage of transient fluctuations in cosmic radiation. Whether viewed through the lens of hard science or speculative mythology, the concept of a lunar command post reshapes our understanding of classical folklore about men in black, mysterious radio blackouts during Apollo missions, and the persistent belief among certain military insiders that a hidden extraterrestrial agenda has influenced pivotal moments in human history. If true, this lunar-Earth nexus implies that humanity's story is not solely our own, that unseen observers may have guided, studied, or even steered our development for millennia from the silent vantage point of the moon, forever altering the way we perceive our place in the cosmos. Despite NASA's avowed commitment to transparency and the public dissemination of its scientific discoveries, persistent allegations maintain that the agency, along with other governmental bodies invested in lunar and extraterrestrial research, systematically suppressed or destroyed a vast trove of Apollo mission documentation in order to conceal the moon's more enigmatic characteristics. Whistleblowers and retired personnel alike have come forward, asserting that thousands of photographs, motion picture reels, telemetry logs, and internal memoranda were quietly classified, refiled under obscure cryptonyms, or physically eradicated from the archives in the years following the Apollo program's conclusion. Among the most vocal critics are former mission controllers and administrative staffers who swear that entire vaults of imagery, showing anomalous surface features ranging from inexplicable geometric formations to what appear to be structural cavities, vanished without explanation, leaving only skeletal index entries that offered no clues as to the file's ultimate disposition. Freedom of Information Act requests, they say, were met with redacted responses or protracted bureaucratic Delays, as if the very existence of the documents were something the government was determined to keep hidden. In private conversations, some ex-officials have even admitted that higher-level directives arrived at the Johnson Space Center and other NASA facilities, ordering the segregation of certain lunar data into eyes-only repositories, accessible solely to a select cadre of defense and intelligence operatives. These archives, according to insider testimony, were fortified behind additional layers of classification levels, so stringent that even high-ranking civilian scientists were reportedly denied clearance. Critics argue that this cloak of secrecy extends beyond simple national security prerogatives, suggesting instead that a deliberate effort was made to prevent the public from discovering evidence that might upend our conventional understanding of the moon's origin, geology, or possible role as a platform for non-human activity. Skeptics of the suppression narrative counter that record keeping hiccups, analog to digital media migrations, and the sheer scale of paper-based files in the 1960s and 1970s account for most discrepancies. Yet these explanations fail to satisfy those who point to narrowly targeted gap-specific roles of film and document batches that correspond almost exactly to the Apollo mission's periods of greatest scientific yield. Whether attributable to bureaucratic mismanagement, Cold War-era paranoia, or an actively maintained cover-up, the enduring absence of this material continues to fuel conspiracy theories and drives calls for renewed archival audits. For many observers, the possibility that the moon harbors secrets significant enough to warrant the destruction or concealment of primary source records remains one of the most compelling and controversial mysteries in the annals of space exploration.